Addy soldiers, it's the end of a long day. I am mostly face grease at this point. I also didn't realize that it was possible for one human being to be so full of pasta. So I feel like I proved something, not only to myself, but to humanity today. Also, people ask me all the time, I did not commission this. This is technically a drawing of Dana Scully from X-Files, but I bought it because she looks like me. I also meant to film this video like 3 weeks ago, so apologies if this is like a little out of date. But I also think the topic we're going to be talking about tonight is something that will never go out of date. So a couple weeks ago, I filmed some videos on TikTok, which link is below, specifically around people's decisions to read or not read this very big book that had just come out, and people starting to gatekeep and attack others for their decisions to do so on either side. Because I am a wizened 25-year-old book blogger, I will be the adult and I will act as the voice of reason here. Like, Book Talk and BookTube are just supposed to be these fun, inclusive, safe spaces where we can all just talk about our favorite characters, getting up to some zany activities, and like have a grand old time. Why are you sending people death threats if they decided to read a certain book? This all kind of started because a very well-known author who has been labeled by the community as problematic released a new book, and people were getting slandered either way if they did decide to buy and read it or if they didn't decide to buy and read it. The social justice people were out here fighting tooth and nail, and then the stands were coming up against them like in a fight to the death. I feel like now is a time to address what happens when you like a problematic author. Okay, I'm ready. So first of all, what does problematic mean? Because that word gets thrown around a whole lot, including like cancel culture and like social justice warriors. Problematic author is an author who includes in their works things that are offensive, racist, rude, insensitive, who then either do not take accountability for or do not apologize for the hurt that they've created, and then continue to still be successful. Don't want to get into name calling. I already did a video on like authors I'm not supporting anymore, and I truly missed a few, and you know, like some of my favorite authors have been involved in scandals before. Like I'm sure your favorite author has as well. Like nobody is immune to this. I think that's also where I get a little angry, is because it's this big thing on Book Talk to like point fingers and be like, well, you're buying this, so like you're a terrible person. Like how dare you in particular do this horrible thing? You're the reason that all of the wrong in the world. And other people having this holier-than-thou attitude, like, well, I knew that she said something racist 7 years ago. And if you were a real fan and real ally, then you wouldn't buy her books. So when you first find out that an author that you love is problematic, I feel like you do go through the stages of grief. You're like shocked, and then upset, and then you're angry, them or at you for buying it, or other people for trying to like slander their name. You're sad because you're like, oh no, now I can't buy any more of their books, or like I feel like I can't talk about them. And then you kind of have to get to this like middle ground of acknowledgement of like, you know what, no matter how much I like them, they still did a shitty thing. Which is also kind of self-acknowledgement, because let's say an author wrote something that another group of people is saying is racist. Even if I don't think it is, it doesn't matter if I agree or not that that happened, obviously people were hurt. And it goes without saying that you're never gonna make everybody happy, and there's always gonna be somebody that tries to nitpick or find something or gets offended. You literally could be like, the sky is blue, and someone will be like, it's periwinkle, how dare you? But if enough people are bringing that up, and the majority of those people are in marginalized groups, it stands to say that you likely should listen to them, because people will attack other people very fast when it comes to things that they like. So if you say, hey, just so you know, that author's homophobic, the first snap decision that you want to do is to be like, what? No, they're not. They're great. They're my favorite. How dare you say anything about them? Because readers are so entrenched and kind of in other people's worlds. When you find a world or a book series that you really, really love, like it feels like it belongs to you almost. Like it feels like that is something special just for you. So if someone's attacking the person that, you know, who is basically your god. This is not going in the direction I wanted it to, but like technically if you connect enough of the dots. If someone is saying something negative, regardless of if it's constructive criticism or not, about something that you like, you're obviously going to feel like offended on its behalf. And that is the point where you need to take a step back and like calm down and not make any rash decisions right away. But it is also up to you to fact check, because, you know, someone could say to you, hey, I heard Rachel hates dolphins, and you could be like, oh my god, how could she? I love dolphins, they're my favorite. I'm gonna have to return that best friend's bracelet that I made for her. Just, I like dolphins. They're fine. They're great. I don't see anything bad with them. And I think physical evidence is very important to this, because in books, if there is something bad said or shown, you can at least like look it up. But if it's like, oh, that person tweeted this one thing, or oh, that person said in this one interview like this and this, you can kind of go and look at it and be like, oh no, you're taking that out of context, or like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing to tweet. There have been times where somebody said like, oh, this author said this thing, and then I'm like, where? Like, show me the receipts. Well, now what do you do if you find out that an author that you already have loved and supported for many years turns out to be kind of not a nice person? Or at this point, you've already bought the book. Like, you've already invested money, you've already invested time, you said that you love it all over the internet, and there's like nothing really that you can do at that moment. Like, sure, you can donate the book, but that's not going to fill that void in your soul that that book made, because like, a lot of books make fairly big impressions on people, myself included. Everybody is going to have a different threshold of how far they'll go separating the art and the author. Some people will know that an author is openly racist and not care and continue to support them because they really like their books anyway, and some people will hear one questionable tweet and be like, well, never buying their books again. It's up to every person to make their own decisions on what that level is to you and for each person that it's for. And as much as everyone would like to believe, you know, we're not going to be 100% woke about everything all the time. Be that a writer writing something or a reader reading something, it's sometimes you're just going to be uninformed, something is going to slip through the cracks. But by reading critically and acknowledging the issue, we can kind of bring more to this open discussion on what is being said that is wrong for whatever reason. We need an open and educational space to be able to talk about why things went wrong, why that person shouldn't have written the thing they did, or how misrepresented somebody was. Like, to me, when I found out an author is problematic, be they my favorite or somebody else, like, what is important to me is to look at their career as a whole. For example, did they say this thing like 7 years ago? As much as it's not a great excuse, publishing within the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years has come so far, and yeah, there are things in some of my favorite books that were published like 6 years ago that would not fly right now. And how many of us were super woke about trans rights or police brutality in 2003? Or if it's a relatively new mistake that they've made, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. See, what I'm looking for is changed behavior. Like, did they own up to what they did? Did they apologize for it? Have they continued to make that mistake? Now, there are some authors that, in my opinion, have been consistently making poor choices in their writing and in their career that I feel I can't support anymore because I don't see a change in their behavior. However, I continue to support other authors who have been deemed problematic because I've seen them apologize, I've seen them own up to things, or it's been new enough that I'm just kind of like waiting to see what they'll do. Everybody's gonna make mistakes, and yes, there are going to be things that authors do and say that are truly unforgivable, but I do think that still goes back to that argument of separating the art and the author. Now, let's say you still really want to read that book that just came out, but that author, they like tweeted this really bad thing, and like, you can't be seen going into the store ordering that. You still want to read these books, but you don't want to support the author. There are a couple of options for you, but again, they are fairly limited. First one is to get the book at the library, which is kind of a double-edged sword because one of the ways to support an author is to request their book at the library, but it's usually that they don't replace books until they really, really need to. Second way is through secondhand shops and resellers. Thrift books is like the big one, but I know other people talk about like Facebook groups and Depop. Or you can pick it up if it happens to come in your local secondhand bookshop or like Value Village, thrift store, Savers, whatever. And the third way is kind of a roundabout way, but like borrow it from someone else. Like if you have a friend that still supports them, just borrow it from them. I mean, I know the money's already gone to the author, but still. Something that came up on one of my TikToks that somebody commented was about pirating. And I know it's tempting, especially if you hate the author, to just pirate their book. It's like, well, screw that, I'm not giving them any of my money. But that is really not healthy, and it sets a bad precedent for kind of like encouraging that type of behavior. Pirating a book doesn't just hurt the author, it hurts everybody involved in the publishing process. So you're hurting everybody at the publishing house, everybody in marketing, like everybody in distribution. It's not a good look. And encouraging that behavior means that other people will do it more, which hurts smaller authors. They're not these like big blockbuster ones. And something else that came up on TikTok was people mentioning things like wanting merch or wanting tattoos or wanting art from these series, but not wanting to directly support the author, and that can be a little tricky. I'm in no way versed in intellectual property or copyright laws, but I know that there's like plenty of independent artists who do like inspired by type art. I'm trying not to name names in this video to just keep it like in general, but if you want to get a Harry Potter tattoo, J.K. Rowling is not directly profiting off of that. If that means a lot to you, and that was your childhood, and that made you feel special, and that made you feel like wonderful reading that growing up, go get the freaking Harry Potter tattoo. You really, really want to get a Valaris candle from an independent candle maker, like, I'm not gonna stop you, and it's probably gonna smell amazing. You definitely don't have to be like scoring Twitter and deep diving into Edelweiss for all of these people talking about how this author's problematic. But I still think it's good to be involved, or at least informed about the publishing community and like what's going on, what the drama is. You don't necessarily have to be involved in it, but I think it's good to like know about it. Check out reviews and find out what people are saying. It's gonna take you 2 extra minutes, just go to Goodreads and double check some things, and if like 6 people in a row were like, hey, this book is kind of not good, maybe then like don't buy it. And if you don't quite know where to start in this like activism community type of deal, you can always follow more queer authors and authors of color, because you know, like they know they've been through some stuff, and they know. I didn't even talk about like classic authors. Like, there's some real racist and sexist books out there, and we continue to study those. The thing with classic authors is that they're all dead and gone, and they can't change. But contemporary authors who are online and interacting with fans and hearing feedback from the internet, they have a choice, and they have a lot more resources at their fingertips than authors of old did. Oh my god. It's all up to you and where you stand in the grand case of like morals and ethics. And I don't want to financially support people that are making poor decisions and like being rude. You know, obviously some problematic authors who are going to continue to be successful for the next long time if we don't bring more awareness to it, or like at least kill the double standard of saying, oh yes, I hate this person, but then going to buy their book anyway. Like, that's not actual activism. That's just like, it's so fake, and I hate it. This can apply to characters behaving badly, or it can apply to actual people behaving badly. Because like, all these people are fake. Like, you know that, right? Like, we're just a bunch of real people arguing over the fact that my fake character is better than your fake character. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I made a mistake. It is too late to film. It's only 7:30 p.m., but it's still too late to film. I poured myself a thick glass of wine before this. I still haven't finished it, so I guess I'm just gonna finish this while editing. It's gonna be a trip. Please leave down below your own thoughts. Let me know if you're here from TikTok, because I just advertised on there to be like, come check out my YouTube channel, because I'm like, I have more thoughts, and TikTok is just, everything is in a minute, and it's like really stressful. How far do you go separating the art and the author? Like, do you still support big name problematic authors, or do you just borrow them from the library? Because I know it's so tempting, especially I get so many of my own favorite authors that have like, I found out that have said terrible things, and I'm like, God damn it, why couldn't you have just not been a sexual predator? Like, how hard was that for you? It's okay, it gives me an opportunity to find new favorite authors that aren't garbage. You know where to click to like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!